Welcome to the Wayward Ornithopter's second look at Freeflight Pro with Follow Me function. In my first video looking at this yesterday, I could not get it to work at all. I've read the documentation extensively and I happen to think it's a little bit loose in its wording. One thing it didn't mention anywhere was the SkyController, and I've come to the conclusion that it doesn't work with a SkyController, or at least I couldn't get it to. The documentation does make it clear that auto follow will only work with a GPS device, i.e. a phone, not a tablet. And as it's currently iOS only until they launch the Android version, that means you need an iPhone to make it work properly. And if you want to use the automatic altitude, it's got to be an iPhone 6S or later. So once again this morning found me and Mrs. Wayward Ornithopter sitting in a freezing cold field. But I invoked auto frame, captured myself in the middle, and when I clicked on go, it followed me. The drone tilted round to zoom in on me, and I decided to have a short walk. I should point out at this stage the only way I could record screen grabs from the iPhone is by tethering it using a USB cable to my MacBook, which explains some of the awkward lugging a MacBook around and being followed by Mrs. Wayward Ornithopter. But having followed me, as soon as I walked out of the frame, instead of following me, it latched onto the chair. Now there are those who may think I'm less interesting than a chair, it has been said, but I was a little frustrated that the auto framing ignored me being a nice dark silhouette and just latched onto the chair. So not really impressed with the intelligence of the software. Having said that, when the pair of us had a little wander, with the other half dragging the MacBook along, it did follow me. So there it is, working as intended. So a little bit flaky at getting confused at any artifacts nearby that might confuse it as to the contrast. But here I'm walking away and for some reason it thinks my shadow is a better contrast than I am, which from a visual point of view I wouldn't agree with. But anyway, it's latched onto the shadow, but as soon as I start walking towards a slightly different light setting, the green square turns dotted and it's not interested in me anymore. So now I'm going to give a go at the auto follow that uses GPS as well as image recognition. So I tap the icon on the right and do exactly as I did before. Try and find myself in a nice clear green reticule. It's locked onto me using GPS and image recognition. So as I move away, it should keep following me. Now I don't know the extent to which it uses GPS over image, but as you can see, it's ignoring the GPS and staying with the high contrast area where I was sitting. Now I'll be the first to acknowledge that I should have been standing away from any similar features like the misses and the chair, but it is a little frustrating. But on this occasion, here I've got myself locked on in green using GPS and image, and as I wander off, it starts to follow me. So what does that mean? Well, it works, but there are hardware constraints. First of all, it's iOS only. Secondly, it'll only really work with an iPhone, and if like me you're used to using a SkyController for the extra quality of control, you've got to say goodbye to that if you're using Follow Me. Having used Bebop Pro, which relies purely on GPS, it seems much more stable, much more reliable, and less prone to get confused by visual artifacts around the screen. So for now, I definitely won't be paying the £15 for the in-app purchase. If I do want to use Follow Me, I'll probably stick with Bebop Pro. And for the sort of clever footage that I want, a lot of the time I do have the time to plan and prepare a flight plan, and that's what I'll be using. So very disappointed, having been anticipated for so long, especially for Android users who just don't get it at all for the time being. A bit of a disappointment from Parrot on this occasion, but like much of the software, over time it may well improve. So I hope you found that useful and informative. As always, keep yourself, your drone and other people safe, and happy flying.